learned the hard way that sex, drugs, and rock and roll might not be the most healthy lifestyle. One could have died, but it was fun right up until the sudden end. Here with his speech about how he was granted a second chance at life, please welcome Carson Shaffer and his speech titled, Getting Old Stinks, but It Sure Beats the Old Church.
19 years, 1 month, and 17 days ago. 16 days ago, I was playing with my band at Pub 44 in Daytona Beach, drunk. What's the competing product to Pepsi?
Coke.
Yeah. Not cola, just the first part. And everything else. The next night, Sunday at 10:30, I woke up crushing chest pain right here. If you're young, listen. If you're old, really listen. I went to bed and kind of one of those, man, getting old stinks. But I didn't realize the alternative. And an hour and a half later, woke up. Sydney, I'm having a heart attack. You sure? Oh, yeah. Crushing chest pain, classic. You know, I was 40 years old. Don't do the math. Call the ambulance. Paramedics come. All the big guys come into the house with the cart and everything. And they look at me and they're like, you're okay. There's a couple things with your T waves we want to go in and check out. And I said, all right, are we going to Orlando East? And all three paramedics in unison go, no! Really, where are we going? Going to Parrish. Titusville, isn't that farther? Yes. Is this the part where the patient's supposed to shut up and listen to what the professionals are saying? Oh, it's nice to have somebody that's so understanding. Yeah. So we go and we're turning on the I-95 off of 50. And the guy that's working on me is popping an aspirin and nitroglycerin like every 30 seconds. He goes, what's our ETA? The ambulance driver goes, 10 minutes. And the guy next to me says, you need to make it in 5. Wow. This realization is going to come as a shock to all of you. You can die from a heart attack. I hadn't realized that because, I'm young and I'm a rocker and I'm never going to die. And all of a sudden, wow. So the night before, I was screaming out the lyrics to Highway to Hell. And oddly enough, found myself saying, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. It's a long way from Highway to Hell to the 23rd Psalm, and I figured it out in less than 24 hours. Get to the hospital, and my wife is right behind me, and she said the ambulance dropped her, so it was doing 115, and the ambulance was pulling away. I was like, well, we had the lights and the siren, and they had the siren going. Oh, and I was going, wow, you could really die from this stuff. And, right, John? And get to the hospital, they put everything on me, and the doctor says, how bad does it hurt? I cut off a finger, and I had this guy, Colonel Freeman, stuck a needle right into the roof of my mouth, pegged my pain meter. So it said 10 is the worst pain you can imagine. Well, I was on a flight crew. And a bad day if you fly is massive blunt trauma followed by immediate dismemberment and incineration. And as long as it happens like that, if you can ignore the previous 60 seconds, it's not a bad way to go. If you draw that cause of death out, that's the worst pain you can imagine. And I thought, well, compared to that, this is like a 5. So I said, it's a 5. And I have an Air Force shirt on. So this guy comes in, my head nurse, in emergency room 001, right in front of the doctors and everybody. Guy comes in and he goes, you're Air Force? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I'm Bob, I'm your nurse, I'm Navy. Oh, jeez, I come from a Navy family, both my parents were Navy, I'm gonna die. And he goes, nah, I lose my job. He goes, you're Air Force, so I'm not gonna work so hard. So we start going back and forth. To the point one of the nurses says, doctor, do you hear how Bob's talking to that patient? And the doctor said, that patient's a lot happier going back and forth than he would be if they weren't. So I'm laying there and it's starting to hurt a little bit more. She said, my wife says, how bad? I said, well, like 5.5, maybe a 6. And then I got really lightheaded. If you're ever in this situation, when you get lightheaded, that feeling is all the blood draining out of your brain into your body. If you have something to say, you have 5 seconds to say it. My great last words were, wow, what a rush. And you know, when you're 17, that's cool. But maybe not so much at 40. And that was the end of my life. I have an EKG that goes like this. All the way, I have several copies of my EKG. And they hit me with 100 joules, and I didn't come back. And then they hit me with 200 joules, and I came back. One more time, and they were going to pull up the sheet. If you're medical, I had 100% focal stenosis of my left anterior descending artery requiring shock twice, which is the widowmaker. 15% of people survive. For those of you who know Shayla, she lost her husband to that heart attack. I've met 4 women who lost their husband at 40. When I meet one more, I will have met all of us. And I'm the only one that lived. So I woke up, maybe guy looks at me and says, well, I think I broke two of your ribs on that pre-cardio thump. And I said, really, why? And he said, well, I don't like losing 40-year-old guys with kids. You know, so I was going to break one. And he said, I was halfway down and remembered the Air Force, so I broke 2. So what did I learn? This is all about your friends and your family, and nothing else matters at all. Nothing. And that's why I come here. Because you guys are my friends. And as we all learned last week, we're family. And that's why I drive an hour. If you get here at 7, you beat the rush hour traffic. And I come here because you guys are all my friends and my family. And I love you guys very much. And that's why I come here, to be with my family.